Civil rights, man. You've been fighting out here fighting civil rights for a long time. What was one of the major or the best battles you've had as a civil rights fighter?
Well, in the National Football League, when I first started playing with the Kansas City Chiefs, I used to look at a lot of the black brothers who was good football players, and they would get cut. And I said, somebody got to speak up. And them guys used to always tell me, he said, man, you going to get ran out of here. I said, well, football ain't the only thing. I graduated from college, so I have a degree. I can go to work.
Right.
But one day there was a guy that played at Florida A&M. This was when we were with the Detroit Lions. He came in the pregame meal and started laughing. So they had another guy from Notre Dame played the same position he played, which was not as good as Bobby Felt was, a guy from Florida A&M. So they cut Bobby Felt. And so, I said, man, how could they cut Bobby Phelps and keep Nick Eddy? So the guy said, well, I don't know. I said, well, we need to go in there and talk to the coach and tell him we're not going to accept that. They said, man, you crazy. We all get cut. I said, well, we just need to get.
Hey, so they said you going to get everybody in trouble by talking up for yourself? How so? Tell us more.
We're talking to the head coach. And my thing was, if we stand in together, they're not going to get rid of all of us. But those other guys didn't feel that way. So I said, well, you know what, man? I said, football is not that important to me. And I said, so this may not be where I need to be. They said, man, just cool out. We're gonna eventually get Bobby Felt. So they end up getting rid of Bobby Felt. And from that day on, the NFL set a bad taste in my mouth. Mm. I said, there's money can't define who you are. You got to speak up for what you believe in. And I was at the New York Jets, and the coach came in and he said, Saul, pass out these tests. I said, no, I'm not going to pass them out. So he looked at me and said, why? I said, I'm black. If I pass those tests out and one get missing, y'all will say I took it. Let one of the white guys pass them out. So all the guys used to tell me, man, you talking too much. They're going to get rid of you. I said, I promise you this. The first day they get a white player in that can play half as good as I can, they're going to get rid of me. I said, but I can outplay all of them. That's why I'm not worried. So that's what really started me to fight for my people, because I saw so many wrongdoing in the NFL of black players. Mm. And as quiet as it kept, this is 2021. It's still going on.
Absolutely.
And the teams who are losing, you look at them, they don't believe in treating black players the same way they do white players.
Absolutely. Tell us your name and tell us how long you played in the NFL.
My name is Solomon Brannan Jr., and I played 10 years in the NFL. I played 4 years with the Kansas City Chiefs, 2 years with the New York Jets, 1 year with the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Detroit Lions 3 years. And believe me, I tell people, probably the only reason I'm doing this interview is because of pro football. But I have never forgot the people that helped me get to the NFL.
Well, can you tell us a little bit about the road getting to the NFL, from your mom's house, high school, a little bit about yourself before you got there?
Yeah, well, I was always liked to play sports. So I played baseball, basketball, and ran track and football. And I know baseball was my best sport. I could play baseball better than all of them. So the high school coach told me, he said, man, you need to come out for football. So I said, okay, I'll come out. So he said, what position do you play? So I said, I play tackle. So he said, okay. So they made me a lineman. And the first day I got there, I was so small, I could get by all the big guys. So he said, yeah, you're real quick. He said, but we're going to play you a tackle, but I don't think that's your position. So we were scrimmaging, and we made a tackle, and the guy fumbled the ball. So I picked the ball up, and they couldn't tackle me. So he said, hey, we're going to make you a running back. So I got switched to running back and played running back. So my junior year, I broke my ankle the first game. And the last game was for the city championship, and I kicked the extra point that won the city championship. I just got off crutches, so they started calling me Foots. And so the next year, my senior year, we came to Atlanta from Savannah. We came to Atlanta to play Price High School. And I ran 5 touchdowns the first half, and none of them was under 50 yards. And so coach said, man, we're going to take you out because they're trying to hurt you. So at the end of the day, the head coach for Morris Brown told my high school coach, say, if he will sign with Morris Brown, I'll give every senior on that team a scholarship if they want to come with you. But not knowing that, I signed a scholarship to go to Ohio State. And about a month later, we played for the state championship against Spencer High School. So I signed another scholarship with Indiana. So my high school coach called me in and he said, hey man, what you doing? I said, what you mean? He said, you know you're ineligible. I said, what you mean I'm ineligible? He said, you can only sign 1 grant in aid. You've signed 2. You signed with Ohio State and you signed with Indiana. I said, oh, don't worry, let them fight over that. He said, nah. He said, I want you to go to Morris Brown. I said, why Morris Brown? He said, because the coach gonna give a lot of guys scholarship. You could help a lot of guys. So I said, well, let me think about it. He said, no, B, I want you to do it. So I said, okay, coach, I'm gonna tell you something. You've never told me wrong, so I'm gonna do it because you told me to do it. So I signed to go to Morris Brown. And I will say this, it's probably the best decision I ever made in my life.
So let me ask you quick. Because, you know, in 2021, the whole concept of coach being in the neighborhood is dead and done. But during your time, he was a strong figure. During my time, he was a going out the door figure. Do you think that's an element in the black community that's missing? Coach?
Well, I know it is, because if you stop and think, the biggest problem we have right now in Atlanta is when we keep looking at the kids and looking at these water boys and all, but what do we have for them to do productive? If we had coaches in some of these rec centers working with these kids, they wouldn't have time to go do all this stuff. See, I never had time to get in trouble. When I would get up in the morning, go to school, when I got out, I was playing some kind of sport. So I played sports, and when I got through with practice, it was night. So the only thing I could do, go home and do my homework. Right. So I tell people, sports can save you. I will say this. I would not be sitting here. I would probably be in jail if it wasn't for sports.
Do you work with any youth anyone currently? Or do you try to mentor people into sports as an alternative to doing anything?
Well, no, but what I do is mentor kids in education. Okay. See, I tell them, everybody can't play sports, but you can be a good student. Now, I wasn't the smartest student when I was coming up. Like, when I went to Morris Brown, I would sit there and guys say, hey, man, we going to this party. You going? I say, I can't. They said, why? I said, man, we got tests. So they say, oh, man, you can pass it. No, you can pass that test. I got to read this 30 times to understand it. See, I had enough sense to know because you can do something don't mean I can do it. So I would never leave until I understood everything I thought was going to be on that test. So I look at the most important thing is education. And my daddy told me this. He said, son, money can't talk. It'll kiss a fool goodbye. He said, I might split verb. I only have a 6th grade education. I'll never be broke. And I never saw my daddy broke. He always had money. And I'm not talking about a little bit of money. He had all kind of business in Savannah. So he's the one taught me how to be my own boss. So when I was playing pro football, I was my sporting goods store in Atlanta. I had the first black sporting goods store. And I tried to go head up against Rita McGahee. But at that time, they didn't want blacks to own anything. So half of the I wanted to order stuff from wouldn't let me order from them.
Right.
But I always had a way of getting it. So I would go to white guys and befriend them, and they would order the stuff for me. Mm-hmm. So to this day, my store is still open. My kids run it, my son and my daughter. And so I always tease them and said, listen, if y'all make me come back in the store, I'll take it from y'all. So they said, what you mean? We make more money than you did when you have. So everybody tell me, say, when you left, I thought your business was going to close. I said, but your kids, I got to say, they take care of me better than you. I said, that's the best thing you could tell me.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're talking about legacy, because you're talking about information. We call it right here the unwritten book. You're talking about unwritten information your dad had, you put in your head, and you pass the information forward. So I really find that to be interesting. I was doing Black history research recently and came to understand that there's only 1 or 2 generations of brothers who knew their fathers and grandfathers in Black America. Before that, they didn't know. So if you were part of that line able to get that information, that was an awesome thing. But I wanted to switch on you while we're in there. So was there a time, or do you remember Grandmama's kitchen?
In my who kitchen?
Your grandmama's kitchen. Do you remember grandmama's kitchen and the food cooking in the kitchen?
Oh, yeah.
Telling them about what was going on around the kitchen?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, my grandparents lived in Savannah, Georgia. So I used to spend the summer with my grandparents. Mm-hmm. And my grandmother would always protect us. So I had a first cousin. So me and my first cousin used to always go and stay with my grandma. And my granddaddy was tough. And he would always want you to wake up 5 o'clock in the morning, get ready to go out, pick cotton, pick beans, do all this work. And so my grandmama said, these boys don't need to be doing all that. But it was a great experience. And we used to kill chickens, and they would cook them. Mm-hmm. You know, the thing is, they had so much knowledge. Like, I still can't figure out, they used to kill hogs and put them up in the salt house. No refrigerator. Mm-hmm. And the hogs would never go bad. Mm-hmm. And now we got refrigerators and they still go bad. So I said, they got to be smart. Yeah. So, you know, I tried to learn everything I could from my grandparents. Mm-hmm. And so my grandmother was a great cook. She could cook cakes. So we used to always tell her, you got to cook me a cake. She said, what kind you want? So I said, just give me a pound cake. But she would always do whatever you asked her to do. And when she died, that was probably one of the saddest days of my life, because she lived to be 98 years old. And she would always be there for you. And I used to come home from college and bring her bags of peppermint. And so, you know, I said, why you like this peppermint? And so she looked all around and she said, come here. So I got close to her. She said, you know, I take and love these peppermint. I take a little nip every day. I said, what kind of nip? She said, a little nip of whiskey. Yeah. And I said, huh? She said, so you get your peppermint so they can't smell. Mm-hmm. And I used to look at her and say, man, I can't believe it. But I always brought her peppermint because that's what she wanted.
Grandma's secret. So from high school to the NFL. So Coach sent you to the right spot. You found out that was working out for you. What was the road of like getting signed? Tell us like how was the draft? How did that go?
Well, I got my senior year at Morris Brown, I had agreed to sign a baseball contract with the Minnesota Senators. And I said, so the guy said, well, I met my wife at Morris Brown. She got pregnant. So we were playing Tennessee State.
She got pregnant by herself?
No.
How she get pregnant?
I ain't gone. I can't walking down the street like, oh. No, listen. I can do a lot of things, but I can't do what God got here. So, listen. I told my wife. I said, you know, I'm gonna sign a baseball contract. So, ended up. The head scout from Kansas City, General Manager, came down to Tennessee State. We were playing them in baseball. And I hit 4 home runs. We lost 5-4. And so he said, man, I didn't know you played baseball that good. I said, yeah, I'm going to sign a baseball contract. He said, listen, come here. He said, I'm going to sign you to a contract with the Kansas City Chiefs. He said, I'll give you the I said, I don't want to sign today because I'll be ineligible. He said, I'll sign it. He said, I got some money for you. Then I started thinking, I said, my wife going to need some money with this baby. So I said, well, how much you going to give me? He said, well, we'll give you a $2,500 bonus check if you sign today. I said, give me that check and I signed. So I signed. And my college coach said, you know you ineligible if they find out. I said, oh, they ain't gonna find out. So they hit the paper the next day. But I was able to get my wife money so she could go to the hospital and have the baby. And I guess I said, I'm gonna go to Kansas City. I was only 180 pounds. So I said, I'm not gonna make the team this small. But so they said, what you gonna play? I said, wide receiver. So the first game I ever went to visit on a pro field, I scored 2 touchdowns on 2 all-pro defensive back. So Hank Scram told me, said, hey, I really like you. You showed me something. So I ended up making the team. So that's how I ended up not ever playing baseball, playing football. But if I had the choice all over, I would play baseball. Yeah.
And that same child is the one that's running the business right now?
Huh?
That same child is the same one running the business right now?
Yes, my that one is not. He worked in the business, but it's my youngest daughter and my youngest son. So I have a older son, Kevin. Okay. Then I have my daughter, and then my youngest son. So my youngest son graduated from Morris Brown cum laude, and he said, "Man," I said, "What you gonna do?" He said, "I'm gonna run the business." He said, I'm going to show you how to make this business take off. So he's done a great job. And the thing I'm proud of him is they have increased the business and not lost the business. And that's unusual for young people. So just for my kids that want to continue the business. So they tell me all the time, say, Daddy, we don't want you in the business. You give away too much stuff. So you just come in and do the tax. And that's the only thing we need you for. So that's what I do. I go in and do the tax. Yeah. But great kids, you know, I love them. And they don't come back and say, well, we need some more money from you. So they operate. My son cry all the time because my daughter do the books. She handle all the money. He said, man, I know we making a lot of money. I said, you need to get on the books. Learn how to check the books. Right. But he said, man, she spends so much money. And then when I say something, she said, well, we ain't got money to do that.
That sounds about accurate.
Yep.
So any last words for the moment? Like, because it seems like we're going to have a part 2, maybe 2 or 3 interview with you. But right now, though, for any young person, aspiring person watching this, like we all giving information for anything, Jewel, anything you want to leave for the person that was watching and keeping with you in this moment of time?
Yeah, you know, especially the young kids, I would say this. No matter what your goal is, you can maintain and reach it. But first of all, you got to have a goal. Mm-hmm. And that goal should be shoot for the stars. And you may not get to the stars, but always remember, if you're shooting for the stars and you fail, you haven't failed. It's just a detour for you to do something else. God will never let you go into something you shouldn't be in. Mm-hmm. I've always said, when I interview, like I tell the people when I'm interviewing, so they say, well, we want to hire you. I said, no, don't say you want to hire me. I say, let me tell you this. There ain't a job that people haven't been hired on, and there ain't a job people haven't been fired. So if you hire me because I'm the best, not because you believe I'll fail. Yep. So young people got to know they can do anything they want to do. But I will say this. In order for you to achieve it, you got to outwork everybody else that's trying to do the same thing you do. It's not going to happen because you want it to happen. It's going to happen because you put the time in. Just like my man with the music. He put the time in. You don't get good sitting there saying, I want to do this. You got to put the time in. So I would tell every young person out there, don't ever let anybody tell you you can't do it. You can do it, but it's not going to happen because I'm saying you can do it. It's going to happen because you put the time in it, and you got to say, I'll outwork everybody trying to do this. That's what I'd like to leave you with.
We thank you, OG. We see you next time.
Well, thank you.